Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday night. It's 7 o'clock, and we are live. Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday night. It's 7 o'clock, and we are live. Welcome to V-Talks. I'm your host, Veronica Brockwell. Happy summer, everyone. I know I haven't been doing my podcast quite as often because I've been out enjoying the sun and the wonderful weather, but I am back tonight, and I am so excited to discuss the topic of how to become a body image warrior, digesting societal influences. And I'm excited to have back our new expert. She is a psychology professor, a child development textbook author, a TED Talks presenter, a life coach, and a recognized commentator in the field of eating disorders. And she is also an invited speaker to Harvard University Medical School. And if you haven't seen her on the show before, you're going to see her tonight. And please welcome to V-Talks, Dr. Mia Holland.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Mia. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited. This is part two. This is part two.
So Mia was on a couple months ago, and we had a lot of people very interested in this topic of body image and eating disorders. So we just have a lot to say about this topic, and we're gonna continue the conversation. But before we get started, Mia, what I'd like for you to do is just tell our audience a little bit about your background.
Sure. I've been in the field of psychology for, since 1990 in different capacities and in different settings. So I've worked in prison settings. I've worked in juvenile detention centers, other mental health facilities. I worked at Brown University on a psychiatry research grant. I've been teaching at the higher education level since 2002 in a variety of different universities. I also served as a chairperson for a very large online university for about 10 or 11 years. So I'm pretty much a geek. That sort of encapsulates the geek definition. And one of my huge passions is the area of eating disorders and body image. It's quite interesting. Most folks, if you talk to them about this topic, they either have some sort of personal connection to it, either themselves or somebody that they care about or know. So it's a very common topic, unfortunately, but we are here to talk about it again tonight. I feel like we're doing this part two, as you said, because there was so much going on in our first one back in May. Gosh, summer's flying by.
I know. Yeah.
So we are here to continue, but like I said, one of my major passions has been eating disorders and body image for a variety of reasons over the years. And I really do think that it's important to bring it to light, so to speak, so that we can help folks both understand what it means to be a body image warrior and combat the images that we see every day or the influences that we are exposed to every day so that we don't lead down the path of eating disorders. And that's both for ourselves, friends, family, and children as well, because we'll talk about some statistics that are quite overwhelming.
Well, Mia, these messages come at us from every direction, and, it's you're not pretty unless you're a certain size, or, you're not good enough, and I don't even know where to begin here, but I think we should talk about some of those things.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So let's set the stage.
All
I
right.
want to give our audience a great overview of some of the things that are super important that lead to the foundation of this discussion. And
Okay.
then we can move on and talk about the images and the statistics about the images and messages that we see on a daily basis.
All right.
And
Great.
they're overt and they're covert, and we'll talk about that.
Great. All
All
right.
right, great.
Let's get going.
So, for those folks that listened back in May, we have some things that are going to sound familiar, but other things are going to be brand new. So, just stay with us here. So, I'll go through a list of sort of a did you know kind of thing,
All
and we
right.
can reflect on them a tad bit just to set the stage. So, the most commonly occurring disorders are anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating disorder. And so that's the foundation of eating disorders. When we say eating disorders throughout our conversation, those are the ones that we're talking about. There are others, and there are other sort of offshoots to those disorders, but those are the basics, just to give everybody a quick foundation.
All right. Great.
Both anorexia and bulimia are both characterized by a very distorted body image. And that's why we're here today to talk more about body image, because it is so important. Negative body image is the most common factor in the development of eating disorders. So this means how you think and feel about your body is the most common factor that leads you down the road of eating disorders themselves. So
And
that's
this
why, again,
starts quite young.
it does, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, eating disorders in general are known to be the most fatal of all psychological disorders. And that's usually surprising to people because people think more about depression or schizophrenia or the other mental illnesses that potentially are more dangerous. But eating disorders are the most fatal. Now, that's important. Why? Well, being the most fatal, then we need to think about how we can prevent them. And they
Okay.
are the most fatal because of their psychological characteristics, but also because of their physical and physiological characteristics. So the damage that's done because of the behaviors can really lead to early and unfortunate deaths.
Okay. And then we have binge eating.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
We do. Binge eating is a tough one because people don't realize that the occasional overeating at a meal or in a private setting by yourself can actually lead to perpetual overeating recurrences. Now, these overeating recurrences are ones that you're extremely overwhelmed by food and your body is overwhelmed by the amount you're consuming. And it's a very physically dangerous.
So, can you go into that a little bit deeper?
Sure, sure.
Okay.
So binge eating disorder is more than just sitting at a restaurant with your friends on the weekend one time and overeating, picking off somebody else's entree, eating your whole entree, or picking off someone else's desserts and eating your dessert too, and just feeling a little physically uncomfortable for a little while or
Yeah.
maybe overnight.
Okay.
Binge eating is the recurrent and consistent episodes of overeating where they're a little secretive about it, potentially doing it in private, and potentially feeling physically so ill after the binge that they're unable to function. That's what makes it a bit different. So there's that spectrum of behavior where, yes, sometimes we overeat at a little dinner with our friends. And then the actual binge eating disorder, clinically diagnosable disorder, is one that impairs function, both physical and emotional.
Okay. All right.
So, to your point earlier, here's where we get to the scary stuff, although some of the stuff we just discussed isn't so fun either. But more than 50% of 3 to 6 year old girls worry about their weight. 3 to 6 year old girls. Yeah.
I that's unbelievable.
It's young. It's super young. 70% of middle school children in general, that's boys and girls, are unhappy with their bodies. And that's an important point, Veronica, because it's boys and girls. So typically, eating disorders are misnomered or stereotypically thought of as only affecting girls, and that's not the case. And
Sure.
we'll see in this next statistics that it's not the case. 40% of teen boys would love to look like someone in the media when asked. That's 40%. That's a lot. Again, another scary statistic. But 60% of adults or more, and I would challenge this statistic. I do think it's more. I think it's around 75 to 80% of adults are unhappy with their bodies. I'm not sure I've ever heard someone outwardly say, I love my body. It's perfect. It's wonderful. People typically don't talk about themselves that way.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And for to start this young, what do you think is influencing a child that's, let's say, 2 or 3?
Well, unfortunately, it starts at home. It does start at home with the way parents talk and behave around food and body image. And we'll talk about those more in depth in our action items later.
Okay.
And it's not meant to blame parents or blame any of us that are around children, but it's meant to educate and bring awareness to the topic so that we can change it.
Yeah, if you're aware of it, then you might change the way you're parenting because you realize
Sure,
the impact that it has.
sure,
Mhm.
sure. Okay. And then let's see. So social media, unfortunately,
Mhm.
with all of its wonderful assets and benefits, it's the number one influence on body image for those who are under 18 and the number three influence on body image over 18.
Wow.
So that's a biggie. That's a
Mhm.
biggie. Again, we're setting the foundation here. These are all statistics that are leading us to where we need to go with action items so we can thwart and bombard back to all of the negative messages that we see every day.
Mhm.
And then, so over 20 million women and 10 million men will experience some sort of eating disorder in their life. That's a lot of people. And again, it's important to note here, we're not just talking about women, we're talking about men also.
Yeah. Mhm.
So that set the stage. This is why we're here,
Right.
because of these statistics and how prevalent it really is for children, teenagers, and adults not to feel good about themselves. And we said body image, distorted body image, being unhappy with your body, feeling negative about your body, that's the number one cause that leads to eating disorders.
And we talked a little bit on our previous show. You and I both have had experiences with eating disorders when we were younger.
Yes, yes, yes. And so we talked about the
Mhm.
causes in that first part as well back in May. We talked about things like the environmental causes,
Mhm.
traumatic causes for some people, psychological causes. There's a variety of causes that lead to it. And the major one is that body image dislike or distortion.
Mhm. All right. So, are we've done our statistics?
Yes.
All
So
right.
the big question is, how did we get here?
That's right.
All right. Let's get going.
Good
So,
going.
how did we get here? People say,
Mhm.
well, what has happened? Why are we so unhappy with ourselves? Why are kids so unhappy with themselves? So, we're bombarded. This is a crazy statistic as well, by over 3,000 advertisements and messages every day. Now, this includes social media, TV, movies, billboards, magazines, music, not Grace Hartley's music, but music.
Right. Yes,
um,
Grace Morrison's music is pretty
yeah,
fantastic. Yes.
yes, yes. And the average American actually spends almost 2 years of their life watching TV commercials. That's an enormous amount of time.
Right. I know. And the advertisers, they know,
They
they
target it.
mhm,
Yep. We'll talk
absolutely.
about that too, because
Mhm.
they know the audience is there. It's
Mhm.
easy bait, and they throw out the poison. So
Right.
kids usually, typically between 8 and 18, spend about 45 and a half hours per week watching TV or playing video games or IMing now or listening to music. And this is more than they spend with their parents. And advertisers spend typically around $10 billion targeting children and youth specifically. So, 1 out of 11 ads typically has a direct message about appearance or body image. And most often, these messages are harmful or negative or judgmental.
Mhm.
So, we're being bombarded.
So what can we do about it?
Aha.
Mhm.
So, when people say, how did we get here? What
Mhm.
has happened? There's an explanation as to why humans react quickly to sudden events, but very slowly to changing conditions, and then it's too late. And it's called the parable of the boiled frog. And I love this parable, although let's check ourselves. We're not boiling
I
frogs. We're not
know.
advocating the boiling of frogs. So PETA, don't get nervous. We are just using this parable
Mhm.
as an explanation because
Mhm.
we don't realize that over time, these slow, consistent images and messages and influences are really affecting us. So the parable, what it really says is, if you're a frog and you jump into a boiling pot of water, you're going to jump right out because it's boiling. You
Right.
can feel the immediate feeling of being boiled, right?
Sure.
Again, we're not
Yep.
boiling frogs. But if the frog is placed in a tepid pot of water, so room temperature, and someone turns on the heat and slowly raises that temperature, the frog doesn't realize that it's slowly being heated, and it actually falls asleep, and then it's too late. So the parable explains, again, really rapid, sudden changes we react to as human beings. But slow, gradual, consistent changes we don't react to as quickly.
Sure.
So this is what has happened. It's the constant eroding of body image over time, just like the boiled frog. It's
Mhm.
not as if in one day there were no images or no messages being absorbed by us. And then the very next day, there's the 3,000 messages there bombarding us. It's been increasing over time. And that's why here we are looking at movies and internet and TV and feeling bad about ourselves.
Right. So, what can we do? What would we change here?
So I have a little exercise. And
Okay.
if you watched back in May, we did a little exercise then as well. I love these because it really helps people to think.
Okay.
Um, if we take a moment and think about the following question, we'll just take a couple of seconds and think about it. If you could change anything about yourself, what would that be? So I hope everybody else is thinking as well.
That's easy.
Do you want to share?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
I share everything on this show. There's really
I
not
know.
anything that my listeners don't know. And if they asked me, I would absolutely tell them.
Yeah.
Um, and I talk about it all the time. I hate my muffin top.
Oh my gosh.
What is a muffin top? It's that like waist fat that you put on your jeans and it like is like flops over, especially like low rise jeans. The high ones are good, but the low ones, there we
Hmm.
go. That's what I would change right
Okay.
there. That's
Okay.
physical. It's upsetting to even talk about it.
I know. Don't get upset, but you're
It's all
brave.
right. I'm
You're
super
brave.
brave. you asked. How
Yeah.
about you?
And that's why
How
your
about you?
audience loves you. So I know the answer to the question. So
I
I'll
know, but
have to
just I
I'll
know,
have
but
to answer
just
it
play al
without knowing. Right.
yeah,
Right.
just
I'll
play
make
along with
believe
the
I don't
rest of
know.
us. Okay.
So when I was little and when I was in elementary school, I was very much bullied by other kids about the size of my nose. I'll be honest. So it always bothered me my whole life. And I don't know if people remember now, I'm aging myself at this point, but in elementary school, do you remember when they did the black cutout silhouettes and they put them
Yes, yes,
on the
yes, yes.
walls?
The,
Yes,
profiles.
the worst day of my life.
Oh,
I would hate that day. I would dread that day because you had to sit and they did your profile. And of course, at the time, I didn't wear glasses. So the profile was even more prominent than it is now. And I remember feeling so bad about myself. And I remember exactly what that profile looked like. I had braids the day that they did it. And there it was on the wall. And it just perpetuated what kids were making fun of me about. Now, I wasn't the only one people were making fun of. There were other kids being made fun of, but that stuck with me my entire life.
Mia, when I was in kindergarten, the kindergarten teacher read a story to the entire class called Veronica the Hippopotamus.
Oh no.
Do you know I was called Veronica the Hippopotamus for all of kindergarten, and it even spilled over a little into first grade?
Oh no.
Yeah, stuff's bad.
Was it in a book or was it just a story that the teacher decided to read?
No, she read a book called Veronica the Hippopotamus with a little girl named Veronica in the class.
She
Mrs.
should have
Davis, if you're out there, Mrs. Davis, I never forgave you.
she should have picked another book. Oh, yeah.
I, how old am I? I'm still
Yeah.
traumatized.
Yeah.
Right? So
And
I
kids are
now,
tough.
yeah, yeah, no, but I hear you. It's the worst thing ever.
Yep. Kids are tough on each other. They will find anything and just nibble and nab at other kids for even the smallest thing. So,
Can
yeah,
I can I change my answer now?
sure.
Okay, so my second answer, no, I'll have two answers. First, I want to get rid of my muffin top. Oh, wait, and my cellulite. That's two. I want three answers. The third
Okay.
answer is I would like to change how I view my body.
Okay.
Mm.
I'm trying not to react because you just led me to the next part. I love this. And you didn't even know about this. So
I
this is
didn't.
perfect.
I
This is
didn't.
perfect
Well, after I said my answer, I go, oh, I know what I'm supposed to say.
because you're smart. We've had so many
Yeah,
conversations already. Now you
yeah,
know. Yes.
I know.
Yes.
All right.
So the majority of people always pick something physical when they answer that question. When the question is posed, what would you change about yourself? It doesn't say about your body, it says about yourself. But we are so programmed to think of our bodies and to dislike our bodies that every single person answering this question has always picked their weight, a body size part, or overall body size in general.
Yeah, you
It's
just go there.
you just go there.
Mhm.
Why is that? So we talked about some of the reasons why. We'll
Mhm.
talk about a few more and then we'll talk about action items. But here's the question to think about. Why don't we ever consider what you just said? Why don't we say to ourselves, I want to change how I think and feel about my body?
Right.
I want to change how I talk to myself about my body. I want to change how I interact with the environment, meaning all of the messages and all of the exposure. We have control over this stuff, and we'll talk about that. But why aren't we saying those are the things we want to change about ourselves? Why do we go immediately to the physical? And that's proof right there that we are so focused on physical appearance and we've been programmed to do so.
Well, you don't feel worthy.
No.
we just don't feel worthy. And many of my friends I know feel the same way.
Hmm.
We talk about it, and
Hmm.
and there's always you just not feeling good enough, not being able to even accomplish enough, let alone look you know appropriately. In your mind you feel like you
Right.
don't look good enough, and
Right.
if you don't look good enough, then you just I mean, some people are paralyzed with even going out because they just don't feel good. And I know
I
that
know.
a lot of people that I know, gained, the COVID 15, and they feel terrible,
Hmm. Hmm.
and they look great. To me, they look great,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know, but they don't feel as good. They haven't been
No.
working out as much, and then they don't want to go out, or their clothes are a little tight. But that's where we're at.
Hmm. And you mentioned something very important in terms of when you get together with friends or when you're bonding with another person. Typically, relationships bond about around commonalities. And
Mhm.
what's one of the major things that we all relate to? Oh my gosh, I talk bad about my body. Oh, you talk bad about your body. Oh, let's do that together. We can feel yucky together. For some reason, it's not okay to say, I feel great about my body. Oh my gosh, me too. No, nobody does that.
I don't really ever have that conversation with people.
No, nobody does that. Nobody does
As
that.
a matter of fact, another interesting thing that does happen around the table at times is, people tend to judge what other people are eating. So if somebody is making a bad choice versus a good choice in their brain, right? It's
Mhm,
in their brain, bad
mhm.
choice versus good choice. What one person is eating that is considered a good choice gets called
Mhm.
out. Like, oh, you always eat well, or oh, you always, eat
Yes.
healthy. It's very interesting.
Yes. And there's also
Mm.
something that before we get to our action items, there's also
Yeah.
something that's very interesting to me. And I do this exercise in the psychology of eating disorders class that I teach at Bridgewater.
Yeah.
Uh, we judge other people's body satisfaction.
Hmm.
So we assume that every skinny person is happy. And I personally know a very thin person,
Yeah.
extremely thin.
Hmm.
This woman has never been able to gain weight in her entire life except for pregnancies. And in
Wow.
fact, she loses a little more weight than she actually gained during pregnancies and becomes even thinner after pregnancy. And
Wow.
her entire life has absolutely loathed her body. She
Yeah.
has always wanted to be curvier, she'll say,
Hmm.
or have more meat on her body, she'll say. And self reported, she is absolutely miserable being thin and skinny. And when people say to her, oh, you're so lucky you get to eat whatever you want. Oh, you're so lucky you get to wear whatever you want. But that's not the case. She can't wear what she wants because she doesn't feel comfortable in the way that those clothes fit her. So she
Hmm.
has to wear other things that help her to hide her body because she hates it so much.
Hmm.
So the people that are looking at her and saying, oh gosh, you must be so happy. Your life is so great because you're thin. It's the exact opposite for her.
Right.
So we judge people based upon what we think is happy, not
Hmm.
what they think is happy.
Right. No, I completely agree. So I think we should talk about we should jump to the action items.
Yeah, sure,
Let's do it.
sure,
Yeah, I
sure.
think so. So
Okay.
we have right here the first action item is limit exposure.
Yes, limit exposure. So here's a question. I love questions. It helps people to think.
All right.
When you look at something,
Mhm.
whether it is a person's post, an Instagram post, a Facebook post, uh, characters in a movie, a certain TV show, a magazine, When you're looking at these things or watching these things, ask yourself this:
Mhm.
does this person or thing create feelings of happiness about yourself or feelings of inadequacy and self-hatred? It's a simple question. When you look at so and so, I won't name any celebrities, but if you look at so and so and you watch her or his show all of the time, and this again goes to men and women because we're all impacted by these messages.
Yeah.
Are you feeling bad about yourself or good about yourself? And if you're feeling bad after you've been exposed to that particular TV show or that particular person's post, if the answer is yes, that you feel bad, why are you continuing to do it? Why not unfollow the person or stop watching the TV show? Why do we do that? It's a very important question.
Well, I mean, well, for social media purposes, I think, you have relationships. And if you were just running around and following people, that could, be a relationship problem later on. So it's not that other person's fault if you feel that way. You might like that person.
You can like them, but do you need to follow them?
Okay.
So here's a question. Would you
Or
call that person?
you could limit the posts that you see from that person.
Yes,
Okay. Maybe
because
that's a good way
let's
to
put
do
it
it.
into a verbal example.
Okay.
Would you call that person every day or answer the phone when they called every day to hear them say, now again, their post is not saying this, but the message you're hearing and feeling is the negativity.
Mm-hmm.
Would you call that person every day and simply have them tell you every day that you are ugly, you are not good enough, and something about you needs to change?
Well, of course not.
Right. So, limiting the exposure to the TV shows or the movies or the exposure to certain posts, you've
Mhm.
got to do that. That's an important action item because we don't want to be boiled frogs.
So I think, that totally makes sense. But do you think maybe, Mia, that we're just so self-absorbed that is that an option of maybe thinking less about ourselves all the time? Would that be something maybe, or is that too difficult to do, or is that
I
just require a lot of therapy? I don't know.
I think you're
I
onto
don't know.
something.
But you know what
You're
I
onto
mean?
something.
Like, because I think sometimes uh, our own insecurities, we actually dislike people because of our own insecurities. And I just wonder if we should start trying to look at it in a different way. you know and you're the expert, I'm not. But
Okay.
I don't know, what do you think of that?
So we have more action items.
Is that an action
Yes.
item? All
So
right.
you're leading to
I'm
something
so
very
sorry.
important.
I'm so sorry. I don't know that I saw that on the action
No,
item,
no,
but
no.
okay,
You're just
that's fine.
you're leading to it. You're leading to it. So it's
All
great.
right, all right, all right, good. I'm
Yep,
on the right path,
you are.
because I'm one of those people that I don't want to shun someone because I'm insecure about myself, because that person isn't doing anything wrong. They're just being who they are. They're not trying to hurt people by, posting a picture of themselves. The issue is the person on the receiving end and their insecurities.
Yep.
Doctor.
Yep. Yes, and you make a
Yes.
great point. And
Okay.
part of that is
Mm.
while we're in a spot of insecurity, why
Okay.
are we still exposing ourselves to it?
All right. All
And then
right.
the other
Fair.
action items will follow up. Yep.
Okay. Fair. You're the expert.
Awesome.
I'm just talking.
No, this is great. This is
Okay.
great. It all
All
ties
right.
in.
All right.
It all
Cool.
ties in.
All right.
So limiting
Next,
exposure, that was number one. Yep.
yeah. And then we have healthy and balanced relationship with food.
Yes. Tough one,
I don't have my
right?
glasses on, and I thought it said with frog.
Oh gosh.
And I went, that doesn't make sense.
Because we were talking about the boiled frog. Yes.
I know. I'm a little punchy tonight. Go ahead.
It's okay. It's okay. So the healthy and
Ah,
balanced relationship with food, very
yep.
important.
Mhm.
We need to live an example and be an example of healthy and balanced with food. Food
Mhm.
should not be seen as the enemy. It should
Mhm.
be, to your point earlier about good and bad. So, food is fuel. We need to focus on nourishing the body. And we don't
Mhm.
talk about constantly dieting. We shouldn't be talking about positive or negative behavior. I was good today. I only had a salad. I was bad today. I had a whole pizza. Don't eat that. It will make you fat. All of those things are negative.
Mhm.
But if we have a balanced relationship with food about it nourishing our body, then we don't have to feel guilty and we don't need to shame ourselves or shame other people for their particular choices. So, for instance, here's a good example. I personally am judged a bit by others because of the way that I eat. Now,
Mhm.
I've always been a healthy person my entire life. And then 5.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I decided to take the holistic route to both cure myself and maintain a healthy body and prevent any future occurrences or other diseases.
Mhm.
So, and that worked for me. Again, that was my choice. And I understand that that's much different than the traditional route that most people take upon receiving a diagnosis. However, I eat such a clean and healthy diet that eliminates lots of things that I no longer eat.
Right.
And people will see the way I eat or ask me about the way that I eat and assume, and this is not my assumption of their assumption. This is people have said that it's more about vanity. They don't know my story. They think I'm eating for vanity, or they think I'm eating to maintain my weight, or
But
something of the sort.
why should that even matter if that's what you choose to do?
Exactly. But
Mhm.
like you said, people judge. They look at
Yes.
what's on your plate. They size you up and down, no pun intended,
Make you
and they
feel bad about
assume,
your dinner.
yeah,
All you're
yeah,
doing is eating a salad because you really want to eat a salad, and then you're judged for eating that salad when
mhm,
they're eating fried chicken, and you're like, I'm not judging your fried chicken.
mhm,
Go for it. I love a salad, and I don't want my meal ruined because I'm eating something that you might not like. That I guess
yes,
that's my,
yes,
but as you were saying, you're eating for health. You went through, you've been going through cancer, and you're trying to make really good choices. So you continue to stay healthy.
yes, yes.
Mhm.
And it's interesting, because we do judge others, we judge others by the way they eat, what they eat, we judge others by their size,
Mhm.
and none of that matters until you're walking in that person's shoes.
Right.
So we have to really be cognizant of, until you're in someone else's situation, you can't judge. The same with the example that I provided earlier about the woman who's extremely thin. That poor woman is so unhappy being thin.
Mhm.
But society thinks thin is happy,
Yes.
and she's miserable. She's miserable. You just don't know.
But what if she was happy being thin?
Some people are.
I know,
Exactly.
but what if, I mean, that's my point. Why are we so fixated on other people?
Yes. And we're going to talk about that.
I
You're
know.
so
I
good.
know.
You read my mind every time.
Well, you know what? I'm very passionate about this subject. And yeah, but I can't keep running ahead. But that's all right. You just
No, this
stop
is
me.
great.
You're the expert. I'm learning from you. I'm just having a conversation with you. And
Yeah, this is great. This is
I
great.
find it very, very interesting.
Yes.
Okay, go
You're
ahead.
always great. Okay.
Now, go ahead.
So that was number two,
Yes. All
healthy
right.
and balanced relationship with food. Let's
Right.
try not to say, I was bad today. I was good today.
Oh, can I
Let's
pipe in again?
reduce the shaming. Yes.
Okay, so today, okay, so last night, I told you I have company in town. I wrote, there's, people here. And so last night I ate later and maybe had a couple cocktails and maybe a cookie or two or whatever. So this morning I was like, no, I can't have breakfast. I can't
Oh,
eat until after 12 because of, and then lunch, I was very careful because I didn't work out today. So it's that exactly what you were saying. I was doing it. I was doing it today and yesterday. It's yeah.
yeah. I know we do it. We shame ourselves and we shame other people all the time. We have to have a healthy and balanced relationship with food. Food is fuel. We all need it to survive.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
go ahead.
All right, number 3, body acceptance. Whew, this is a big one. This is a big one. Take a deep breath. We have to accept and enjoy our bodies and encourage physical activity. So, and this is very important. This is where we really need to think about children and the young ones that are around us. We have to acknowledge and appreciate and value.
Yeah,
So I have a friend who has children that are um, a little heavier than she would like them to be. That's how I'll say it. And she constantly makes comments about how heavy they are in front of them, around them,
sure.
about them.
Yeah,
And she herself is not a heavier person. And she is embarrassed by her children. And she says things in front of them. And I cringe every time. I cringe every time. It's not okay.
yeah,
Whatever size we are beautiful. If there's a health condition or some sort of detrimental thing going on because of the weight, and that can go on both ends of the spectrum. You can be unhealthy because you're too thin. You can be unhealthy because you're too large. Unless there is a health condition, then they need to be taught, and I'm talking about children and even ourselves, that weight and appearance are not the most critical aspects of our identity and our self-worth. You cannot communicate the message that, so for instance, summertime in front of your children, I can't wear this bathing suit because I'm fat. I can't go swimming today in front of these people because I don't want anybody to see my body. Children are listening.
mhm.
Back to your point earlier,
Yes.
where do these young kids learn the messages? They're learning them at home first. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of it. I can't wear this. I can't do that. I can't swim. It, parents and adults need to compliment themselves, compliment their children, and value things more than just shape and size. And they also need to reject body shaming. So if they see or hear something that's happening about body shaming, they need to reject that and acknowledge it in front of their children and make sure that their children know the difference.
I agree. My mom was always on a diet. She was always on a diet. And, you know, after she had her third child, I can remember her saying, she was, little. My mom was not very tall. She was like 5'2", I think, or 5'1" or
Yeah.
5'2". And she always said to me, I used to be a 98-pound
Oh,
weakling. And then she's like, and when I had you, when I was full term with you, I was 112 pounds. But after I had your brother, I was 133 pounds. So like every little bit, every little child, she remembered exactly what weight, her top weight, and then she was always on a diet. And
mhm.
I'm sure I absorbed all of that. Well, I did absorb it. I remember it all.
Sure, sure. We hear it at home. We
Yeah.
hear it at home. It's the
Mhm.
messages that are said every single day.
And she
So
wasn't
body
trying,
acceptance.
yeah, she wasn't trying to, she was just talking about it around the house and I would hear it. My mom
Yeah.
was never, strict about my diet at all, but I listened to everything that she said.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So body acceptance is key. We need to model that. Again,
Right.
remember, we are here tonight because we are talking about becoming body image warriors, not
Mhm.
only for ourselves, but for the younger generations too.
Sure.
So this is important.
Mhm. Absolutely. Okay. Next. So,
Number 4,
right. So that's self esteem.
self-esteem. So you
Mhm.
hit the nail on the head earlier with insecurities.
Yeah.
Where is this coming from? Why do we feel so bad about ourselves? Because we are programmed from day one to think about, focus on, and judge the way we look instead of emphasizing values. So we need to emphasize values like loyalty and fairness and self care and self respect and curiosity and individuality and confidence and assertiveness. Um, how often, and I think many of us are guilty of this, do we see a little girl or a little boy with their parents and we say, oh, he or she is so cute?
Mhm.
We talk about appearance from the minute those little humans are born.
I do it every day.
Mhm.
I do it every day. Mhm.
And there's no malice intended, of
Oh
course,
gosh, no. No,
but
not at all.
that's the message. The message is, am I cute? Am I pretty? Is my dress cute? How do I look? Because we've been imprinting that on these little brains
Mhm.
since the day they were born.
And it has a huge impact.
It certainly does. It certainly does. That's why self-esteem is so important. We need to value other things and do that immediately. Of course, infants really don't have many skills, but as they get older and they start to talk and walk and things like that, we can focus on other things and how they move, their physical activity. Again, we focus on physical activity, not physicality. There's a difference. So, movement and morals and values rather than you look so pretty and you look so cute in that dress. It has to be more than that for us to get through this.
And I'm guilty of it with adults, because I empower women and I want women to feel good about themselves. And I tell them they're beautiful and amazing. And is that something I shouldn't do?
Well, if you add in you're so
Mhm.
smart or you're so loyal and you're such a great person or you're really good
Okay.
at blank or you're really good at that, there's nothing wrong with that. So empowering others is great as
Mhm.
long as we have a variety of values and it doesn't just myopically focus on appearance, weight, body shape, or body parts. Yes.
Okay. All right. Great.
Yes.
All right. So we're all learning here. And
We're all
the
learning.
the adults are learning. Well, that's why you're here.
Well, it's funny because I am constantly saying to strange women on the street, oh my gosh, your hair is so beautiful. What do you do to make it look like that? Because I have hair challenges. Okay. And I'm constantly enamored by
See, I
people
was
with
just gonna
beautiful
say you're
hair.
beautiful, like you're beautiful, Mia. And I was like, but you're so smart.
See, you're so smart. Right.
Yeah.
It's how we're programmed.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
and we're all guilty of it because this is the way we communicate. And again, this is the way we bond. We bond around things. Now, if you're just meeting somebody, you don't know they're smart, you don't know what their values are. So,
Mhm.
of course, it starts with, I love your dress, I love your hair, those kinds of things. But
Yeah.
then when we get more involved, we should really be focusing on who the person is, not what they look like.
Okay. All right. Next, we have communication, talk and listen.
Yes. So this is a big one. Big, talk openly and honestly and really listen, especially to children. So open communication, talking about societal pressures, being honest and telling them that body image and perfectionism is not the most important things in the world, and that, again, back to values, that character and strength and self-assurance and decision making skills, those kinds of things are so important. They need to know that their opinions are valued. So when they come to you and they say, oh my gosh, look at this character in a movie, isn't he buff? Yes, he is, but he's also saving the world and he's doing these wonderful things, whatever the character may be. Let's focus on actions and values, not just physical appearance.
Sounds good. Critical thinking.
Critical thinking. I love this
Mm,
one. I
um,
talk to my students about this all the time.
okay.
Don't just take something in, evaluate it, really look at it. And that sort of circles back to what we were talking about earlier. Does this thing or person make me feel good? Do I get a bad vibe about myself after interacting with this person or thing? And again, it may not be the intent of the person that you're interacting with to make you feel bad. But if you're not
Well,
in
I
the
don't think
place,
it, yeah, I don't think it usually is.
right. And if you're not
Yeah.
in the place that your self esteem is there and
Mhm.
that you are not body shaming yourself or your appearance, then we've got to make some changes. So become a critical consumer of what we're seeing, especially in the media. So we talked about this back in May in terms of people uh, putting those filters on their kids and on themselves and posting filtered pictures and the cute little ears and the little things. It seems cute and harmless, but what we're teaching ourselves and other people and children is that I'm not good enough and I need to filter myself and change myself in order to be accepted and loved, both by people outside of my body and also by myself.
Yeah. And then finally, my friend, be aware.
Be aware. There's some warning signs, right? So if children, teenagers, or adults are saying things like, I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm gross, I'm ugly, I wish my nose was smaller, I wish I didn't have a muffin top, we need to redirect. We need to pay attention. For children, when they start focusing on weight and they start saying negative things about themselves, we have to pay attention to that. That's the first sign. It's the first sign. And we know, we talked about this earlier, body image issues are the number one cause of eating disorders. So if children or somebody around you is talking like that or talking badly about themselves and about their physical appearance, I'm not saying they will head that way. I'm saying it's the number one cause. So it could potentially head that way. And we need to pay attention to that. We need to change it.
So Mia, I've got along the ticker here, I have the nationaleatingdisorders.org. What
Yes.
will people find there?
They will find lots of resources. So there's some information about the things that we've talked about today. So you'll see information about eating disorders in general, some resources, some ways to talk about people. So for instance, there's some scripts there, especially around the holidays since it's food centered. So there's lots of information and resources there.
Okay. And then we have this.
Yes. So the
Mhm.
Multi-Service Eating Disorder Association is located here in Massachusetts, actually. So it is a local organization that provides resources and services as well. They also provide support groups and referrals. So if you or somebody you know may be experiencing an issue related to eating disorders, you can call Meta and they can help you get the help that you or that person might need.
Okay. And then we also have the Renfro Center.
Yeah. Yes, the Renfrew Center is one of the premier eating disorder treatment facilities. They have several locations around the United States. So it's a great resource for people that are looking to seek treatment, whether it's inpatient or outpatient.
And Mia, when should a parent start to become concerned about their child and seek medical attention?
Sure, sure. So psychological characteristics will be things like saying negative things about themselves, physical characteristics like losing an enormous amount of weight quickly, or just losing weight where they don't need to. In other words, a moderately sized person is all of a sudden losing weight out of the blue. That's a big sign. And then also for boys specifically, with something called muscle dysmorphia, we talk about boys that are obsessed with gaining weight and may lead to behaviors of ingesting or taking things that are harmful substances.
Okay. And at what point do they talk to their primary care physician first?
I would say start with your primary care physician and or one of the organizations that I had mentioned you have up there on the screen. So the nationaleatingdisorders.org and then Meta Inc. Also, both of those are very helpful in helping you navigate the next steps so they can get a picture of what it is you might be experiencing or seeing in your child or teenager or even a friend or yourself. And they can help you navigate the next steps as to the level of treatment or resources that you might need.
Okay. We are coming up on the hour, so we should probably wrap this up until next month. But how would you
Yes.
like to close?
Let's all be intentional about becoming body image warriors. Let's be careful about what we're watching and seeing. And let's just love ourselves. Let's just not fall prey to and become boiled frogs. Let's not become boiled frogs and not fall prey to the environmental influences and societal influences that are out there. We can do this. Why are we walking around miserable and feeling ugly? It's not okay. We can change that.
I know. I think we can. And I'm so grateful that you're here as one of our experts and you're going to help us maneuver through this and all of our issues that we have. I know we have many. I know we have many. And if anybody out there would like to make any suggestions, topic suggestions for Mia, with her wealth of experience and knowledge, I would love to, just hear what the audience wants to talk about too.
Sure, sure. I've
Uh,
said this in our little intro that you post for us. I'm pretty much a catch-all for all things mental health, behavior, and wellness. So bring on the topics.
yeah, you are. You're a wellness coach too, right? Are you a
Yes.
Yeah, so you could actually help me get rid of my muffin top. But I shouldn't be worried about my muffin top. See, that's the
You should not.
confusion. That's the confusion here.
Yeah. Healthy and healthy. Yes, we'll keep it
Right?
at that. Yes.
Right? I shouldn't even be concerned about the muffin top.
No.
I'm a mess, Mia.
Nope, you're not a mess. Self-talk, positive self-talk.
I'm awesome. All
You're
right.
awesome.
I'm awesome. You're awesome.
Thank you. This was awesome. I'm so glad we got to do part 2.
I know. And we will be back next month. So what's your week? Is it the third week?
It's the third Tuesday. Yes.
Third Tuesday of every month, Mia will be back. So I hope you're enjoying your summer.
Yes, you as well. And thanks to the VTalks fans for coming.
All right. Thank you so much, Mia. I appreciate you. And we'll
Have a
touch
great
base
night.
again. All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening with Dr. Mia Holland. And I hope that this was helpful to you. And we will have the links for you for the nationaleatingdisorder.org. If you know anyone or if you were struggling with an eating disorder, please go to their website. There's so many resources available to you. And thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. We have Dr. Michael Wild will be with us, and we will check in. We will have our monthly checkup with him. And I hope you all are having a wonderful summer. I am going to check out now, and we will see you next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Take care.